something else I came across while I was, doing my research and all that. So what do you guys think about VTubers as a whole, right? VTubing has started, I guess, 2015, 2016. But what do you guys think about VTubing as far as like a whole? Is it growing? Is it stagnating? Is it getting worse? Do you see more VTubers, chat? What are your thoughts about VTubers, all in all? It's everywhere, right? Growing? Yep, absolutely. It's starting to stagnate, I think. Oversaturation, yeah. I think there's a lot of oversaturation. But it was a really interesting thing that our lovely friend Kuro put out. So we're gonna watch your video and we're gonna talk about this in a second. I think it's very interesting to think about. So let's take a look here.
Is VTubing too saturated? Nope, there are less VTubers now than there were during the pandemic.
There are less VTubers now than during the pandemic.
Had the chance to return to college and work and left VTubing behind. The average indie VTuber lifespan is 2 years, sometimes less, due to people getting disenfranchised or busy or just not enjoying it as much as they thought they would. And that is okay. Nothing wrong with putting yourself first.
Or what Kuro's trying to say is that a lot of people left the VTubing space because it was over, right?
Saturation and it all depending on luck are being thrown around and holding new people back from getting started. When I first started, my expectation to myself was 1,000 average viewers in the first year. I haven't even seen 1,000 average in my 3 years of streaming. And yes, I could blame it on oversaturation, or I can take a look at my expectations and adjust them. Because if you never appreciate the viewers that support you and you only ever see the negative side of this job, you will burn out fast. Hence the avalanche of graduations every year.
I love Lulu so much. I've known her for so long too. So I do want to say this as a VTuber, right? And I'm sure you guys have seen this, fellow VTubers or people in the VTuber community. One thing about VTubing is I think we've seen a lot of graduations in our space, right? A ton of people have been graduating. And one thing that I love that she says is that, you shouldn't be looking at oversaturation as a reason not to start VTubing, because you should be looking at your own self and your own improvements, right? So I think that point is correct. However, I don't think that there's less VTubers than there used to be. So this is what I wanted to talk about. So Pomato talks about this a little bit. So let's take a look here. So this is non-VTuber right here on this bottom line. And this is VTuber, right? As you can see here in 2020, a huge spike. And same for regular VTubers, right? Especially with it was a lot easier for people to, start streaming and, focus on streaming because of the pandemic, right? Because if you've seen here, here's the total hour growth rate, right? So kind of went up, been on the rise. And now, literally just now, even though growth is still continuing, right? It's kind of like chilling out a little bit more, which I think is correct, right? I think we're starting to hit the plateau of VTubers and non-VTubers starting to even out with each other. So while I do think that, VTuber viewership, it grew. I mean, look at this number compared to non-VTubers. VTubers kind of had their big, explosion, right? Now we're kind of the point where it's evening out. But I still think it's oversaturated. If you want to start VTubing because you'll think it's fun, right? I don't want to say that there's less competition. If anything, you can look here and this number is still really high, right? Compared to in 2020, you can look at this number and this number. They're actually about the same. So I don't even want to say that the number went down necessarily. I think more people are actually VTubing or just a little bit above compared to what it was to 2020. Yeah, 21 is actually the highest. Which kind of makes sense because, to me, I think ended it, or basically the pandemic, right? It ended more towards the middle of 2021. That's when everybody really started going back to their normalcy. Jesus Christ, stop milking! I'm saying leave because it's oversaturated. It's just an excuse in my opinion. A lot of people say that, Fox. But as you can see by this, it's not oversaturated. It's actually less saturated than it was right here. You know what I mean? So what are your thoughts, chat? I think all of us have seen, a ton more VTubers out in the space, right? I've seen a lot more VTubers out in the space. So I don't really think that this number right here is something we'll ever see again. I think it's going to go down. People tend to blame external factors for not meeting their goals. Yep. And not looking at themselves. I 100%. Christ, chat! Why so much milk? No more milk! Anyway, I found this interesting. Wanted to share with all of you. Because I do think that all in all, VTubing stuff is kind of it's not oversaturated.
Come.
Literally. Yeah, I think this point right here, where actual non-VTuber and VTubers met was when everybody decided that VTubing is too expensive. Any streaming takes that, but absolutely, even so more with VTubing because it costs a lot more to get into. But did to consider some VTubers became VTubers for ulterior motives. I think since this point, right, we've kind of lost the bad actors and we've lost a lot of the people that like really were not there for what VTubing was kind of like really intended for. And of course, a lot of graduations as well. So I think things are starting to even out. But this is definitely, I mean, compared to here, I mean, oh my God, that jump is just insane. Take it! Ah! Bruh. So anyway, I want to share with you guys, I thought this was really, really interesting to talk about VTubing as a whole. I mean, you guys are big VTuber enjoyers. You're here to watch me. So I thought we should talk about it, right? Thank you so much to all my Ko-Fi and Discord boosters. If you want to see your name here, consider supporting with the Ko-Fi link below.